on Northeast Angling, one of the questions we get all the time are, what are the right ways to hook chunk bunker? And a lot of guys do this wrong, and I'm just going to illustrate some really simple techniques. First of all, usually my favorite piece of the bait is the head. And where to cut it? Just behind this little dot right here, which acts as a guide. A quick cut, just a little bit of an angle on it. Boom. Now when I go to hook this, one of the things I want to do is I don't want to dig my hook into this so deeply that I can't pull it out. And I'm actually going to go through the part of the bait where the hook is going to come out easiest. So I'm just going to go through the very top of the bait and actually bring the barb out just like this. And the nice thing about this is when this bait lays on the bottom, because we're on one of the points, it's very less likely to spin. So right now, this is a very good presentation, really clean, and the hook, when just a little bit of a bite from the fish, you go to set, boom, comes right out. The next piece of bait we use is the middle section. And we're going to keep this, sometimes we'll cut this very thin. Fish are a little small, or they're biting a little soft, but a good sized chunk's a little more than an inch wide. Once again, I keep that same angle. And I would hook this the same way, right through the top. And once again, this is a bait that's not going to spin. It's going to be very effective and a very easy bait to pull a hook on. You know you've done this right if every now and then when you're flipping these baits out, you cast one of them off. You never want this bait to come back to the boat on the hook after you think you set your hook. So it should always just be boom and right out. And then you can probably get one more good piece of bait out of it. And that would be the next piece. And then I would take the tail and cut it up into small chunks. And these little chunks are what I'm going to use to chum. And chumming is a whole nother technique. It's a different game completely for striped bass. One thing we don't want to be doing is don't want to be throwing our chum in a strong current that might take the fish off the bottom, away from our baits, and back to maybe the boat behind us. So it's really important that we know where our chum is landing. When there's very little current, you can throw chunks like this. If there's a lot of current, you really need to use a Chum Bomb, which would be like a sabiki rig or a mackerel rig. You put these little chunks on each of the hooks, you drop it down with a big weight, you get it down to where your baits are, a couple hard yanks, your bait comes off, makes a little cloud on the bottom, and that's effective chunk chumming for striped bass. And if you're going to do that, it's important that you keep doing it, because one or two fish gets around your baits, they'll pick up all that chum and it'll be gone. One of the stories we hear most often is guys say, I had a great bite going, fish came in, it lasted about 15 minutes, and then it was over. Well, what happened was, during that 15-minute bite, they stopped chumming. The fish picked up every piece of bait on the bottom, and that scent that was bringing the fish to them and holding them was gone. So it's really important that you chum again and again. Now, this happens to be frozen bait. One of the problems with frozen bait is it washes out and it gets soft really, really quick. So one of the things we do, if we're using frozen bait, we change it much more frequently than we change it for fresh bait. So this tip and many others you can find on our website at anyangling.com.